Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. As always, my name is Marco, just a guy in Austin, Texas who really likes movies. And today I have a great interview for you all, mainly because it is so timely. Unless you've been living under a rock, you know that Speed Racer has had quite the come up this year with its re release in IMAX and its release on 4K restoration. I myself am a huge fan. I have the box set myself. So this is one of the coolest movies from the 2000s. I admit that, and I will say that with my chest. But for today's interview, I had the chance to catch up with Pauly Litt. He plays Spritle in the movie Speed Racer, and we just got to talk about like what it feels like with this movie having a come up again, and maybe some missed opportunities this movie had, or the audience had to rewatch this and understand why this is such a great movie. So, without further ado, here is my interview with Pauly Litt. All right. Well, I am so excited today because I actually get to meet someone that I've been a fan of for years now. I would say many, many years, and we'll jump into that a little later. But I am here with Pauly Litt. He played Spritle in Speed Racer, the movie, one of my favorite movies, honestly. And finally, people are getting it. So I'm super excited that people are seeing it again. Obviously, had its amazing re-release in IMAX. Super stoked about that. But Paulie, how has everything been? Like getting back into the swing of things with Speed Racer. I mean, it's been such a success. It seems like on a rewatch and a re-release.
Well, thanks for having me. Thank you for so much for the Speed Racer love. I know I saw you on Instagram, and I was like, he gets it. He understands it.
100%.
So,
100%.
man, I tell you, it's been really neat that it came back. One, it came back, as a DVD re-release, but then two, we got the theater re-release and the IMAX 4K release. And I think the funniest thing for me, and I've said it before, is getting all the messages and hearing all the people that saw it for the first time in theaters. That's just so crazy to me. And it's such a cool fan base to pick up this time around, I guess, where they're like, wait a minute, I've seen the movie before, whether it was on streaming or they had the DVD, and they're like, wait a minute, now I want to see it on the big screen. Which
100%.
is, the complete opposite of what this movie is. I really think it, and also, I think you preached it as well. This is such a theater, like a movie theater movie.
100%. 100%. I remember watching it back when 2008, I believe. It was
Yeah.
around that time. So I was a senior in high school, and I remember trying to get friends to watch this movie with me, and they were just like, "No." It was one I went up, probably one of my first real experiences going to a movie theater alone, and I just talked it up as much as I could, and it lived up to the hype. Like the IMAX re-release, I went with a bunch of friends. We were all in different areas because we couldn't get seats together. It was that hyped up, which was super
Right.
exciting. But yeah, watch the last scene especially. I mean, that in IMAX, of course, the entire movie, but the last scene specifically, it was so cool to see like the little things that maybe I missed back then. But that kind of goes into my next question of watching the re-release and the restored version. Is there anything that stood out to you more on the restoration watch?
So much. So many little things. It's funny. Just today, Warner Brothers post-production facility, they've done this wonderful job of highlighting all the amazing creators in the post-production world that they have. Today it was John, and talking about all of the colors that weren't even possible. That's the thing that people really, I don't know if they understand. One, they created colors to begin with, and now the colors that we take for granted on a daily basis have to be added, just so many things. That final scene, it comes up, and that Mach 6, he's just skidding there, and you get to really see the car this time. And not that you didn't see it before last time, but the reds are redder, the whites are whiter, the smoke is smokier, everything just, and the sound, that again really wasn't there that first time around, because we're talking, what, 18 years ago.
18
So
years
I
ago.
can't point out one specific thing. Um, I just think the whole kit and caboodle really is different now. It's a different experience. Plus, I think that now the technological advances have come so far that people can sit back and enjoy the comic anime aspect of it,
I love that.
instead of putting it on this pedestal of like, no, it has to be like this, and it's like, no, that's not what we wanted. And I say we collectively because the Wachowskis from day one, and the producers Grant and Joel and everybody a part of it really knew that that's what they wanted to do, was recreate this 1960s anime,
Yeah.
and they did.
They did it so great. I loved like the little anecdotes that they threw in that were
Yeah,
like over the top, but not too over the top. Like Speed jumping out of the car, doing the
yeah, yeah,
pose.
yeah.
Like
Well, you
it
you
was
have to have
definitely.
that.
Yeah, you have to do
You
it,
have
but
to.
yeah, but like it
Yeah.
wasn't like, oh, it was like this is misplaced. It was like this fits perfectly for this one scene. So I love
Yeah.
that you say that. Kind of want to jump into your character of Spritle, but going into it, I know you had some credits before that going into playing Spritle. I mentioned this to you a little earlier off
Yeah.
camera. I was a big fan before Speed Racer because me and my mom we were big TGIF, ABC.
ABC. Yeah.
Yes, so Hope and Faith was a
Yeah.
big one for us. So I'm interested to know what the audition process was like leading up to this one because if I'm not mistaken, this was like your first like really big budget, right? Like how was it
Yeah.
going
I
from
well,
maybe TV to this?
yeah. I mean, you could do movies before, and you can do movies after. And immediately after Speed Racer, I did Doubt. With Meryl Streep and Philip Seymour Hoffman, and ABC, obviously TGIF Friday with Hope and Faith, and Jersey Girl, and there was just a ton of different stuff. Nothing, nothing before, after is like Speed Racer. I joke to anybody who's in the business, um, when they ask me what it was like on the set of Speed Racer. I said, well, to give you an idea, we had 5 lunch trucks every day. I mean, just we had anything that you could think of. We had, I wanted a golf cart, we had a golf cart. At the time segways were, the newest thing on the market. Obviously, Royalton has his segway, his purple segways in the movie. um we had a chimpanzee, Chim Chim. So we had two actually. uh and we went to Germany for 3-4 months. You can't ever get that just like a totally different scale and a different level, and just not to mention a cast that seemed to like never end, you know from the racer family to the announcers. So um that experience was unlike anything else, really. Tremendously different.
So awesome. And when you were going through it, like, did you watch the anime going into it? Did you have an idea, or like when you read the script, what was the prep process like to become Spritle?
Yeah. Back, because let me go back to the audition process. The audition process was pretty much simple. I went into Warner Brothers lot, met with Laura Kennedy. Um, didn't really hear back much, and then a couple weeks later, had the Wachowskis wanted to meet. Um, you just never know in this business. I felt really good about it, decent about it. We went in. I remember we did the couch scene, where Chim Chim and I are kind of fighting, and then Mom comes into the room, and we did it a couple times, and then that was it. Couple notes, and then boom, we were out. Um, and then I wound up was I was doing Wizards of Waverly Place, funny enough, and that's when they called me to sort of hurry up, go into chimp training up in Northern California, and get ready to go over to Germany. And immediately I got all the episodes, all the 60, right? 60 episodes of the original Speed Racer. And I had talks with the Wachowskis of just, embodying this younger little brother who's always in the way, but loves his big brother, loves his family, wants to help, but sometimes, pops out in not the best of times, and then other times the timing's perfect. But through the line, everyone in the world who has a younger sibling has an annoying little brother and sister, and that's what the character was.
Love it.
So I laugh every time somebody's like, ah, the annoying little brother. I'm like, oh, good. This is good, great.
I mean, I'm the annoying little brother in my family, so I
So,
totally,
yeah,
like,
I'm the
that's
big, yeah,
me.
yeah, me too, me too. I'm the baby. I'm the baby too.
So I'm very much like, no, that's me. That's probably me. My sister probably thinks that about me. So totally
Yeah.
awesome. I kind of want to actually talk about one of the scenes now, and we'll
Okay.
jump around here. I want to talk about the airplane scene
Oh,
specifically. I
with the
need to
candy.
know. I did you get to eat all that candy? I have so many questions around the candy right there.
Yeah, so the candy, I had a bit of it, I will tell you. I did not have so much that I passed out. Although I could have. Back in the day, I do like my sweets, I will tell you. I can't lie, I'm more of a chocolate guy when it comes to that stuff. And that tray was full of like real sugary treats, stuff like that. So thankfully I didn't go crazy, but what a cool, unique scene you picked, because it's one of the few scenes that has both real and CGI.
Mhm.
The cockpit of that plane and the seats on Royalton's jet were all real. Everything surrounding it was fake.
Okay.
So that scene where he's flying through this, his city, and we look down below and all that. That's all green screen.
Wow. Okay.
But the window, that my face is on, obviously that's real. The candy tray was real. So all of that was it was this unique blend. Because most of the time, with some of the real sets, um, there wasn't green screen. It was all real.
So, kind of going along with that, then you play like being younger at the time, having that kind of imagination. Did you see that like as a bet? Did that work to your advantage? Like when you were trying to imagine everything going around, like do you feel like you had an easier time kind of seeing what wasn't there, if you will?
I gotta admit, the Wachowskis just did such a phenomenal job of letting us in on the world they were going to create, and showing us drawings and showing us how the scene was going to look, and really pinpointing where things were, and where the eye lines, and how we wanted to do it. I mean, when that scene where I'm like, oh, the pool, and then this, and then that, and I'm like looking through this mansion. That's all green tape on the ground,
Hmm.
written what it
Oh,
was
wow.
going to
Okay.
be. So I could stay in my lane, because if I stepped over to the right or to the left, yeah, I'd look like I was on a table.
So wow, that's actually super interesting. And going along with working with the Wachowskis, do you like what were some of your favorite memories working with them and being so young and getting to work with like this powerhouse?
Well, I'll tell you, I never wanted to leave the set, ever. That was the feeling, and that was the vibe, because there was just so much to learn and so much to watch. And it was like watching these masters at their crafts. And They work so well together, not only with each other, but with the team that they've created. And what's really cool is the team they've known for years. You know, most of the people on the set did The Matrix and did Bound, and
Hmm.
they've been since the get go. So their relationship is just so tight, and everybody knew what they wanted and what they were doing, and so for me, it was just a situation where I just didn't want to leave. I wanted to sit and absorb everything that I could, and just being that there was two of them, they both had this unique aspect of just helping one that it was like left and right, both
Hmm.
hemispheres of the brain, and there's just so it's like tap dancing, really.
And I mean, excuse me. To that point, I mean, it sounds like like the whole cast and the crew and everyone that was part of it sounds like a one big great family. And I honestly feel like that is why the movie resonates so well with people. At least it did for me. Like it does remind me very much of my family. We'd fight, we
Yeah,
get into
yeah,
it with each other, but like it always came down to love. I remember me and my mom having those conversations that Speed and his mom and mom have also. And I mean, their names are mom and like essentially mom and dad
yeah,
in the
yeah,
movie.
yeah.
So
Mom and dad,
it's
mom
like
and pops. Yeah, yeah.
mom and pop. So you have to have it be the epitome and like the core real family there. What was it like working with this cast though? You had John Goodwin, Susan Sarandon, and Emil Hirsch was at the peak of his time too. Same with Christina Ricci. Did anyone really become a mentor figure for you during filming, and even maybe even past that?
Everybody was. Really, it was when you're that young, everyone is in a sense, because you get to pick up all these little pieces of the puzzle, from all different angles and all different people. Certainly, John is the man. John is just, he's the best. There's no one like him. I called him a man of few but funny words. He comes in, and I swear, if he doesn't embody Pop's Racer, I don't know who does. He's just so perfect. And we had a ball. Uh, but man, from even beyond the family, just we had Rain, who was just awesome, and to get to witness him doing his stunts and him doing his dancing on the side, because obviously he's like the king of K-pop, over there, and then Richard Roundtree. It doesn't get more OG in the business than that. R.I.P. to just a smooth cat. I mean, he was just a smooth guy on and off the screen, and I cherish our time together. And now Hero, with Shogun. I mean, he's getting he's the man. He's getting his stuff, and he brought his son and showed us like his son was doing sword training and all this stuff. um Really everyone. Phil Tan, who's the Nanja, ninja or
Mhm. Yeah.
Nanja. He's another legend, and now his sons are doing it, as well. So it's just a really neat thing to be able to come, 18 years later, sort of a full circle, and see how everybody and where everybody is.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it's really been great to see everyone kind of resurge a little bit too, and seeing what they're doing with all the updates coming from the re-release. And I definitely wanted you mentioned chimp training, and I definitely want to talk about chimp chim here for a quick second. I
Got
mean,
to.
that had to be quite the wild ride, and because I mean, Spritle and Chimp are inseparable. Like, there's only like that one scene that they're really separated in the movie altogether. What do you remember about working with the Chimp character? What was Chimp training like? Yeah, like love to hear about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so unique, and such a small percentage of people
Hmm.
in the entire world get to do it. Uh I will never forget the first day I pulled up to chimp training. I remember Thaddeus. We drove up from the Warner Brothers lot, and we get out, and you get on this property in Northern California, Sled's property, and um, it was literally lion, tigers, bears. Oh my! Just left, right. There's a giraffe. There's an orangutan. Anything you could imagine, and then sort of at the end of it, were Willie and Kenzie, and we just hung out for 2 weeks. We walked around. We kind of, we did the candy scene a couple times. Just because there's so much rappers and getting familiar with the candy and the lights and stuff like that. But for the most part, it was just sort of creating a bond with each other um, before we went overseas and got to working.
That's awesome. That's seriously awesome. And I want to talk about one other scene. And I have like two more questions for you. And this one's the fight scene in the hotel room. There is so much going on in such a small space. What was it like going through that? Because I feel like it's one of the biggest crowd pleaser scenes, honestly, because it involves the whole family, and we finally get to see like Speed Racer actually fight in this scene, which is pretty great as
Yeah.
well. So
Well,
yeah, no, and then
you can't get much bigger and better stunt coordinators than Chad. Obviously of John Wick, and now he took over that franchise. Um, so when it comes to stunts, he's the dude. He had it down, and then we had Phil, who's also a legend stunt guy. Um, so we were in pretty good hands there, and they just took over as far as choreography, because that's really what it is. It's a sequence of sort of dances. They knew they took their time with the scene. Obviously, there's a lot of different angles and a lot of different shots. There's me and Chim Chim running up and grabbing a hold of his legs, and then he goes down, and then he comes up. And, there's wires, and then obviously he flies off the catering tray. So it was just I can't really say it was anything crazy or out of the ordinary, because they're so good at just creating an environment where they knew, they had everything meticulously planned out, and they knew what they wanted to do, and they just went out and executed it.
awesome. That's super
Yeah.
awesome. Is there a scene that you think audiences would be very surprised was very hard to film at all?
Well, there was there was a there's a couple moments that I will say was not hard, but just it's involved. One is the golf cart scene. It was for that short amount of time, in retrospect, that's the thing. It's like for the amount of time that we're going bananas um on the golf cart, man, we took half a day, it seemed like, to just go crazy. And we were really playing music in the studio, green screen obviously, so it's just the golf cart, me and Chim Chim, and we're going crazy, and just like really going crazy like that, take after take. uh then physically, the hardest thing for me, or I had a fun time with, was when Racer X, and I open the door and I'm like, and then I shut the door and I jump over the couch. um I'll never forget that I did it once, I did it twice, and again they knew they wanted just this clean jump, not hitting the pillows. And the first time I hit the pillows, second time I hit the pillows. Now, mind you, back in the day, I'm wearing jeans, okay? So they're not the best, and I'm
Yeah.
also, a little cute chubby kid. So the jumping, wasn't there
Mhm.
per se, and they came over and they're like, "Listen, do you want a jumping board? Like a little springboard underneath the pillow um, of the couch, and that'll help you." I said, "No, no, I can't do it. I can't do it." Out of good my mind, I was like, "I can do this." So third time I get there, and I'm like, feet don't fail me now. Just get the yabba dabba do running start.
Love it.
And I jump over it, and we got it clean. They're ready to move on, but I can't really move because I've split my pants.
Oh,
You know. So, but thankfully, wardrobe they sewed it up, and nobody was the wiser.
that's hilarious and definitely a fun memory there. But I definitely just have one last question for you here. And if you could go back and talk to yourself on the set of Speed Racer back when you were filming, what would you tell that kid about the movie's future and the impact it would have 18 years later?
Um, that's a great question. Just be okay that some things take time. Patience is a virtue. Um, you know, uh, it's fairly well known that a lot of great artists and a lot of great painters and just creators in general, which I think the Wachowskis are. Sometimes it takes time for their stuff to really make waves. So I would definitely say that. And as for the 18 years later, man, I just tell them that's what dreams are made of. I mean, really, everybody gets into the business, or at least I hope that everyone gets into the business to make a film um, that's impactful over time and impactful over generations. I think maybe my favorite videos so far have been seeing kids who were playing with the toys back in '08, and now they get to go back to the theater and they get to take those toys out again and
Yep.
relive their childhood.
Oh, yeah.
That's so cool for me. And then if it's possible, something even cooler is seeing you get to share it with your kids. I've
That's
seen
solid.
pictures of a dad sitting with his son watching a movie that, we did so many years ago that now they both get to have this shared connection. I think that's all you could ever want
Yeah.
when you get in this business, is to do that. So for me, that's been the best part.
That's awesome. That's seriously awesome. Well, Paulie, I don't want to take too much of your time, so I very much appreciate it. I have my what's it called, limited edition box set, hopefully shipping next week. That's what I said I
Awesome.
was gonna do, and I can't wait to get it. It was like a very quick pre-order. It was the fastest thing I've ever bought in my entire life. Was that box set? So I'm
Well,
super.
you let me know. I mean, I think Spritle's got to sign it.
Yeah, I would love that. I would love
Yeah,
that.
I mean, it's got to happen.
I will make it happen. We'll definitely make it
Definitely.
happen. Well, thank you again, Paulie, and all the best. Looking forward to future projects maybe from you. Can't wait
Yeah,
to see what those
definitely.
are.
Thank you so much. I'll keep you up to date. And again, thank you so much for the Speed Racer love. We had a blast making it, and getting to see people have a blast watching it is what it's about.
100%.